Assessing the strategic landscape, how China's growing ties with Greenland could shift global security dynamics. Introduction. The Arctic region is undergoing significant transformation driven by climate change, which is opening new shipping routes and increasing access to untapped natural resources. At the heart of these changes is China's growing influence in Greenland, a territory rich in minerals and hydrocarbons. This report explores the strategic implications of China's deepening ties with Greenland, focusing on economic, environmental, and security concerns impacting global dynamics. Key developments and historical context. 1. Emergence of Arctic interest 2009 to 2013. The U.S. Geological Survey's 2009 estimate revealed that the Arctic could hold 13% of the world's undiscovered oil and 30% of its natural gas, igniting global interest. The U.S. responded with the 2013 National Strategy for the Arctic region, aiming to address security and resource access amidst rising geopolitical tensions. 2. China's Arctic Policy 2018. In 2018, China published an Arctic policy white paper declaring itself a near-Arctic state. This policy highlighted China's ambition to engage in Arctic governance and resource exploration, marking a significant shift in its foreign policy posture. 3. U.S. Arctic Strategy Update 2022 to 2023. The U.S. updated its Arctic strategy to counter increased competition from Russia and China, emphasizing military readiness and sustainable development. The U.S. remains concerned about China's military-civil fusion strategy and its implications for Arctic security. 4. Investments in Greenland 2023. China's investments in Greenland's mining projects and infrastructure have raised alarms among Arctic states. Projects like Isua and Kvanefjeld are critical for China's resource security, further intertwining its interests with local economic development. Strategic implications of China's engagement in Greenland. China's strategy in the Arctic is characterized by a win-win approach, focusing on enhancing bilateral relationships and investments in resource-rich areas. The melting ice in the Arctic not only presents economic opportunities but also poses significant national security challenges for Arctic states. 1. Economic opportunities. Greenland's vast mineral resources, including iron or rare earth elements and hydrocarbons, are vital for China's growing industrial needs. The Isua and Kvanefjeld projects exemplify China's push to secure access to critical raw materials crucial for technology and military applications. 2. Environmental concerns. The environmental impact of mining activities in Greenland raises concerns among local communities and environmental organizations. Projects threaten traditional livelihoods and ecosystems, leading to local opposition and calls for sustainable development practices. 3. Security dynamics. China's military-civil fusion strategy raises alarms about potential dual-use technologies that could have military applications. The U.S. and its allies are increasingly wary of China's growing military presence and capabilities in the Arctic, leading to heightened tensions in the region. Analysis of key projects. Isua Project. Located in southwestern Greenland, the Isua iron ore project is significant for its potential to contribute to Greenland's economy. However, it faces opposition due to environmental concerns and its reliance on foreign labor. The necessity for skilled workers may limit local employment opportunities, exacerbating social tensions. Kvanefjeld/Kvanefjeld project. This project has drawn attention for its rare earth element deposits, which are critical for modern technologies. Environmental organizations have opposed uranium mining due to past nuclear contamination events in Greenland. The project also highlights the complexities of balancing economic development with environmental protection. Differences in perspectives. The analysis from various sources reveals differing emphases regarding China's Arctic ambitions. Economic focus. The Arctic Institute emphasizes the economic and environmental implications of Chinese investments in Greenland, highlighting local community impacts and the need for sustainable practices. Security emphasis. The Center for Strategic and International Studies (CSIS) focuses on the military aspects of China's Arctic strategy, particularly the potential for dual-use technologies and the implications for global power dynamics. Conclusion: China's growing ties with Greenland signal a shift in global security dynamics as the Arctic becomes a focal point of geopolitical competition. The U.S. and its allies must navigate these changes through enhanced military readiness, strategic investments, and diplomatic efforts to prevent the Arctic from becoming a flashpoint for conflict. Balancing resource exploitation, local community needs, and international relations will be crucial in shaping the future of the Arctic. As the landscape evolves, proactive measures are essential to ensure that the Arctic remains a zone of cooperation rather than conflict, fostering sustainable development that benefits both local communities and global stakeholders. The interplay between economic interests, environmental sustainability, and security will define the strategic landscape of the Arctic in the coming years. The strategic landscape in the Arctic is poised for significant transformation due to China's deepening ties with Greenland, reflecting a broader global competition for resources and influence. The following counterintuitive insights emerge from the detailed analysis of this evolving situation. 1. China as a near-Arctic state. Although geographically distant from the Arctic Circle, China has positioned itself as a near-Arctic state, which challenges traditional notions of Arctic sovereignty and influence. This self-designation highlights a shift in how global powers can assert their interests in regions where they lack territorial claims, thereby redefining the geopolitical landscape. 2. Military-civil fusion. The dual-use nature of China's Arctic research raises alarms about possible military applications of scientific endeavors. This notion contradicts the common assumption that scientific research is purely benign. Rather, it serves as a potential precursor to military expansion, complicating the narrative around peaceful scientific collaboration in the Arctic. 3. Resource extraction versus environmental protection. The push for resource extraction in Greenland, such as the Isua and Kvanefjeld projects, poses a paradox where economic development aims to alleviate local poverty while simultaneously threatening traditional lifestyles and environmental integrity. This tension reveals a complex dynamic where local communities might oppose projects that could economically benefit them, driven by concerns over ecological sustainability and cultural preservation. 4. Western investments lagging. While China aggressively pursues investments and partnerships in the Arctic, Western nations, particularly the U.S., are seen as lagging in their commitment to securing their interests in the region. The assumption that Western powers will maintain their historical stronghold in Arctic affairs is being challenged by China's proactive approach, which could lead to a realignment of power dynamics. 5. Geopolitical uncertainty. The war in Ukraine has altered Russia's strategic posture, making it more reliant on China for economic and technological support. This dependency is counterintuitive, as it suggests that Russia, traditionally viewed as a regional hegemon, may be ceding some of its Arctic influence to China in pursuit of mutual benefits, thereby reshaping Arctic geopolitics. 6. Local community dynamics. The interplay between local Greenlandic communities and Chinese investments reveals a counterintuitive reality where economic opportunities might not translate into local benefits. Concerns over the influx of foreign workers and the impacts on traditional livelihoods illustrate that economic development initiatives can exacerbate social tensions rather than resolve them. 7. Environmental policy contradictions. The U.S. has articulated a commitment to environmental protection while simultaneously pushing for increased military readiness in the Arctic. This duality raises questions about the coherence of U.S. policy, suggesting that national security interests may take precedence over environmental commitments, which could alienate both local communities and environmental advocacy groups. 8. Emerging shipping routes. The potential for Arctic shipping routes to become economically viable challenges the established global shipping routes like the Suez Canal. This shift implies that traditional maritime powers must reconsider their strategic priorities, as the Arctic could emerge as a critical artery for international trade, altering existing economic alliances and dependencies. 9. China's long-term strategy. China's Arctic policy reflects a long-term vision that integrates economic, environmental, and geopolitical considerations. This holistic approach contrasts with the often fragmented strategies of Arctic states, suggesting that cohesive and forward-looking policies are essential to compete effectively in the rapidly changing Arctic environment. 10. Local versus global interests. The tension between local Greenlandic interests and global economic imperatives highlights a counterintuitive challenge. While local communities seek to protect their environment and way of life, global powers like China leverage these situations to expand their influence, often at the expense of local priorities. These insights underscore the complex interplay of economics, politics, and environmental considerations in shaping the Arctic's future. As China and Greenland deepen their collaboration, the implications for global security dynamics will become increasingly pronounced, necessitating a re-evaluation of traditional strategies by Arctic states and their allies. Identification of overlooked content and its significance. While the report on China's growing ties with Greenland and its implications for global security dynamics covers many critical aspects, there are several nuanced points that are often overlooked but carry substantial significance. These points not only relate to immediate geopolitical tensions but also to broader themes of environmental sustainability, local community impacts, and the intricate balance of international relations in the Arctic region. 1. Military-civil fusion strategy. One crucial aspect that often escapes mainstream discussion is China's military-civil fusion strategy regarding its Arctic activities. This strategy involves blending military objectives with civilian research and commercial initiatives, which raises alarms about potential dual-use technologies being developed under the guise of scientific research. Significance. Understanding this dual-use nature is vital as it emphasizes the potential for civilian projects to serve military purposes. This could lead to an escalation of military presence in the Arctic, prompting a response from other states, particularly the U.S. and its allies. The implications extend beyond immediate military concerns. They reflect a broader strategy of positioning China as a dominant power in a region that is becoming increasingly critical for global trade and security. 2. Environmental and social impacts on local communities. The report discusses the economic opportunities presented by mining projects in Greenland, such as the Isua and Kvanefjeld projects, but it often underestimates the local social and environmental ramifications. The extraction of resources can lead to environmental degradation affecting traditional livelihoods such as fishing and hunting, which are vital for the local Inuit communities. Significance. Highlighting these impacts is essential for understanding the full scope of China's engagement in Greenland. The potential for social unrest and resistance from local communities can complicate foreign investments and lead to a backlash against both the Chinese government and the Greenlandic authorities. Moreover, these environmental concerns are vital in the context of global climate change discussions, as Arctic regions are particularly sensitive to ecological shifts. 3. Long-term strategic thinking versus immediate resource extraction. The report emphasizes China's immediate resource extraction goals in Greenland without adequately considering the long-term strategic implications of its investments. While China seeks to secure resources for its economic growth, the geopolitical landscape is evolving rapidly, and reliance on Arctic resources may not be sustainable in the face of international pushback against Chinese influence. Significance. This long-term perspective is critical as it could influence future Chinese policy decisions. If the geopolitical climate turns more hostile, China's investments may become liabilities rather than assets. Moreover, this aspect underscores the need for Arctic states, including Greenland, to carefully evaluate their partnerships and the potential for future shifts in international relations that could affect their sovereignty and economic stability. 4. China's self-identification as a near-Arctic state. China's self-identification as a near-Arctic state is a strategic narrative that bolsters its claims and aspirations in the region. This designation allows China to assert its interest and involvement in Arctic governance, despite its geographical distance. Significance: this self-identification plays a crucial role in shaping international perceptions and policies regarding Arctic governance. It challenges traditional notions of sovereignty and territoriality, pushing the boundaries of who gets to participate in Arctic affairs. Acknowledging this narrative is essential for understanding the geopolitical dynamics at play, as it can influence how other states engage with China and may lead to a re-evaluation of Arctic governance frameworks. 5. Investment in infrastructure and local economic diversification. While the focus is often on resource extraction, the report hints at China's potential investments in infrastructure which can significantly impact Greenland's economy. These investments may either bolster local economies or lead to dependency on foreign powers. Significance: the balance between fostering local economic development and falling into a cycle of dependency is critical. If infrastructure projects do not align with local needs and priorities, they could exacerbate existing inequalities and lead to social tensions. This aspect emphasizes the need for a more integrated approach to economic development that prioritizes local community involvement and benefits. 6. Geopolitical competition and climate change. Yet it does not fully explore how these developments exacerbate geopolitical tensions. Significance: climate change is not merely an environmental issue, it is fundamentally reshaping global power dynamics. Understanding this link is crucial for policymakers as they navigate the complex landscape where environmental sustainability intersects with national security. Acknowledging the implications of climate change on international relations can lead to more robust and cooperative global strategies to address both climate and geopolitical challenges. 7. The role of indigenous communities in decision-making. The report touches on community impacts but often overlooks the critical role that indigenous communities should play in decision-making processes regarding resource extraction and environmental management. Significance: engaging indigenous voices is not just a matter of ethical governance, it is essential for sustainable development. Indigenous communities possess unique knowledge about the Arctic environment, which can lead to more effective and culturally sensitive resource management. Their inclusion in discussions can also mitigate conflicts and foster a more collaborative approach to Arctic governance. Conclusion: the strategic landscape in the Arctic is complex and multifaceted, influenced by China's growing ties with Greenland and the broader implications of these developments on global security dynamics. By identifying and emphasizing the often overlooked content in the report, such as military-civil fusion, local community impacts, long-term strategic considerations, and the intricate interplay between climate change and geopolitical competition, we can gain a more nuanced understanding of the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead. Addressing these issues is crucial for Arctic states and the international community as they navigate this evolving landscape, ensuring that decisions made today will lead to a stable, sustainable, and equitable future in the Arctic region. 1. China's win-win strategy in Greenland. China's approach to its Arctic ambitions, particularly through its ties with Greenland, is encapsulated in its win-win strategy. This involves enhancing bilateral relationships and investing in Greenland's vast natural resources such as rare earth elements, iron ore, and hydrocarbons. The Isua and Kvanefjeld mining projects exemplify this strategy as they are crucial to China's resource security. However, these projects have faced opposition from local communities due to potential environmental impacts and concerns over foreign labor, highlighting the complex interplay between economic interests and local livelihoods. 2. Geopolitical implications of Arctic melting. The melting of Arctic ice is transforming the region into a new frontier for economic and strategic competition, opening up new shipping routes and access to untapped resources. Both China and Russia are rapidly militarizing their Arctic presence, with significant investments in infrastructure and military capabilities. The U.S. has recognized the need to bolster its own capabilities in the region, emphasizing military readiness and cooperation with allies to counter growing Chinese and Russian influence. This shift in the strategic landscape poses significant challenges for global security dynamics. 3. China's dual-use research and military-civil fusion. China's Arctic research activities, while ostensibly scientific, are intertwined with its military-civil fusion strategy. The dual-use nature of these endeavors raises concerns among Arctic states regarding potential military applications. The U.S. and its allies are increasingly wary of China's expanding footprint in the Arctic, viewing it as a potential precursor to a strengthened military presence. This concern underscores the need for enhanced cooperation among Arctic nations to establish clear norms and governance frameworks that mitigate risks associated with China's ambitions. 4. The role of international governance and cooperation. The evolving dynamics in the Arctic necessitate a re-evaluation of international governance mechanisms to address the challenges posed by great power competition. China's assertion of itself as a near-Arctic state and its active engagement in Arctic governance highlight the complexities of managing the region's resources and security. The U.S. and its allies must work collaboratively with Arctic nations, including Greenland and indigenous communities, to ensure that economic development aligns with environmental sustainability and local interests. Fostering a cooperative approach to Arctic governance that mitigates potential conflicts. 1. The Alaska Purchase. 1867. The United States' acquisition of Alaska from Russia was a strategic move that significantly altered the balance of power in North America. Initially viewed as a barren wasteland, Alaska was later found to be rich in natural resources including gold, oil, and gas. The purchase opened up new opportunities for economic exploitation and geopolitical positioning, similar to how China's engagement with Greenland is viewed today. The acquisition allowed the U.S. to extend its influence into the Arctic region, which is now experiencing renewed interest due to climate change and resource availability. 2. The scramble for Africa. Late 19th century. During this period, European powers competed aggressively for territorial claims and resource acquisition in Africa. Countries like Britain, France, and Germany sought to expand their empires by establishing colonies, often disregarding the existing local governance structures. China's increasing investment in Greenland's mining projects echoes this historical context, where nations pursue strategic advantages through resource-rich partnerships affecting the local communities and altering international relations. 3. The Cold War and the Arctic. 1947 to 1991. The Arctic became a significant theater during the Cold War as the US and the Soviet Union vied for strategic supremacy. Both superpowers established military bases, conducted research, and sought to control Arctic routes and resources. China's current ambitions in the Arctic, particularly through its relationship with Greenland, reflect a similar competitive dynamic, where nations seek to assert their influence over a region that is becoming increasingly important for global security and resource management. The Cold War's legacy continues to shape Arctic policies as nations revisit military and strategic considerations in response to rising tensions among great powers. Future outlook: assessing the strategic landscape of China's growing ties with Greenland. As China deepens its engagement with Greenland, the implications for global security dynamics are profound. The Arctic region, historically characterized by cooperation among Arctic nations, is increasingly becoming a theater for geopolitical competition. This analysis provides predictions regarding the future of China's ties with Greenland and their potential impact on global security dynamics. 1. Increased economic integration. Predictions: China's investments in Greenland's rich mineral resources such as rare earth elements and hydrocarbons are expected to grow significantly. Projects like Isua and Kvanefjeld will likely proceed, driven by China's need for these resources to sustain its technological and military ambitions. This economic integration will not only bolster China's resource security but also enhance its geopolitical leverage over Greenland and, by extension, the Arctic region. Implications: as China establishes a firmer economic foothold in Greenland, it could influence local governance and policies, potentially leading to tensions with the Danish government and other Arctic nations. Greenland's increasing reliance on Chinese investments may complicate its relationships with the US and Europe, who are wary of Chinese expansionism. 2. Shifts in Arctic governance. Predictions: China is likely to continue positioning itself as a near-Arctic state while advocating for a greater role in Arctic governance. This could involve pushing for multilateral agreements that favor its interests, particularly concerning resource extraction and shipping lanes. Implications: the Arctic Council's effectiveness could be challenged as China seeks to reshape the governance frameworks to allow more access and influence in the region. This shift may marginalize traditional Arctic powers, leading to a fragmented governance structure and potential disputes over territorial claims and resource rights. 3. Increased military presence and strategic competition. Predictions: China's military-civil fusion strategy will increasingly manifest in the Arctic. As China develops research stations and expands its icebreaker fleet, its military presence in the region is expected to grow. This will likely include dual-use technologies that can support both scientific research and military operations. Implications: the U.S. and its allies may feel pressured to enhance their military capabilities in the Arctic to counterbalance China's growing presence. This could lead to an arms race in the region, escalating tensions and increasing the likelihood of confrontations over shipping routes and territorial claims. 4. Environmental and social tensions. Predictions: the push for resource extraction in Greenland will heighten environmental concerns and social tensions among local communities. As mining activities increase, so will the scrutiny over their impact on traditional ways of life, local ecosystems, and Greenland's fragile environment. Implications: local opposition to Chinese projects may grow, leading to protests and political mobilization against foreign exploitation. This could result in a push for stricter regulations on foreign investments, complicating China's operations and potentially straining its relationship with Greenlandic authorities. 5. Greater Sino-Russian cooperation. Predictions: the evolving geopolitical landscape will likely reinforce Sino-Russian cooperation in the Arctic. As both countries face increased scrutiny and competition from the West, they may deepen their collaboration on Arctic infrastructure and resource development, particularly along the Northern Sea route. Implications: a united front between China and Russia could undermine the influence of Western powers in the Arctic and create a counterbalance to NATO's presence. This could lead to coordinated efforts to challenge international norms regarding Arctic governance and resource rights. 6. Impact on global trade dynamics. Predictions: as Arctic shipping routes become more accessible, China's strategic investments in Greenland could enable it to dominate future trade routes, reducing its reliance on traditional maritime paths and enhancing its economic competitiveness. Implications: the opening of new trade routes will alter global economic dynamics, potentially leading to a shift in shipping patterns that favor the Northern Sea route over the Suez Canal. This shift could give China leverage in international trade, further consolidating its status as a global economic power. Conclusion: the future of China's ties with Greenland is set to redefine the strategic landscape of the Arctic and global security dynamics. As China solidifies its economic and military presence in the region, the implications for Arctic governance, environmental sustainability, and international relations will be profound. The U.S. and its allies must navigate these changes through strategic investments, military readiness, and diplomatic engagement to prevent the Arctic from becoming a flashpoint for geopolitical conflict. Balancing resource exploitation with the needs of local communities and environmental protection will be crucial as these developments unfold in the coming years.